as the berries in June. Red the rose, skin pale as the light of the moon, gently as she goes.
Welcome to Snark Theater, where bad fiction gets blasted. Well, I've stalled long enough. Looks like we've entered the belly of the beast, the 9th level of hell, the festering pustule on the foot of vampire fiction. Okay, the last one was a bit much, but you get what I mean. Narcissus in Chains just inspires those sorts of disturbing images for me. But showing is better than telling, so let's get going. I can tell we're in for something great when the opening lines are about the weather. No, really. June had come in like its usual hot, sweaty self, but a freak cold front had moved in during the night, and the car radio had been full record low temperatures. Wait, am I reading the right book? Let's have a look at some of the reviews on the inside cover. Hamilton's sexiest book takes things to a whole new level. Hamilton just gets better and better. Narcissus in Chains hits the ground running and never stops. See, they're reliable because we referenced them twice on the same book.
You are lame! You're so lame!
Anyway, moving on. Anita and her best friend, Veronica Ronnie Sims, are sitting in her Jeep cooling off and complaining about Anita's absurd love life. Okay, so he's a werewolf. No one's perfect, Ronnie said. Date him, sleep with him, marry him. My vote's for Richard. Oh, sure, that's no big deal. I could just see Richard's eHarmony ad right now. Cooks, cleans, loves musicals, turns furry once a month and murders wild game, enjoys teaching little kids. He's great! Anita replies, I know you don't like Jean-Claude. Don't like him? Her hands gripped the passenger side door handle, squeezing it until I could see the tension in her shoulders. I think she was counting to 10. If I killed as easily as you do, I would have killed that son of a bitch 2 years ago. Your life would be a lot less complicated now. You know, as opposed to a werewolf, because then your life would be cake. Sweet red velvet cake made from the blood of a slaughtered deer. I don't want him dead, Ronnie. He's a vampire, Anita. He is dead. She turned and looked at me in the dark. Her soft gray eyes and yellow hair had turned silver and near white in the cold light of the stars. The shadows and bright, reflected light left her face in bold relief like some modern painting. Can I have some bread with that purple prose?
I want that purple stuff.
So basically they spend the next couple of pages arguing about how Anita thinks dead people aren't really that dead and Ronnie disagrees. Basically makes her look like a bitch in Anita's eyes even though she's telling the truth. Now, granted, she shouldn't be jumping into the Richard camp just because the man isn't dead, but Ronnie has good sense in earlier books, so it's pretty sad to see her portrayed this way. The argument concludes pretty much in this manner. She leaned over and gave me a quick hug from behind. I'm sorry, it's none of my business who you sleep with. I leaned into the hug for a moment. That's right, it's not. I mean, I was only trying to be your best friend and keep you from making a bad decision, but clearly that's not what BFFs do, so sorry about that. Moving on. Ronnie had wanted us to dress up, so we had. It was her birthday. Oh, so you just told off your best friend on her birthday. Classy. Afterwards, Anita and Ronnie go into a dance club in fancy outfits that Laurell K. Hamilton took the time out to painstakingly describe because she's obviously a fan of Terry Gillespie. Anita gets approached, but she shuts the guy down for doing intolerable things like offering her a drink and to slow dance with her. She's just not down with it. She goes on to recap about how she's being celibate because she can't decide between Jean-Claude and Richard. She walks off angry and Ronnie runs after her. I heard Ronnie's heels running on the gravel. Anita, wait, don't be angry. I'm not mad, Ronnie, just tired. Tired of you, my family, Dolph, Zabrowski, everyone for being so damn judgmental. Wait a second. You chopped the issue in the car, went into a dance club, got approached by a guy, and you're still mad? Is it just me, or is that sort of unreasonable? By the way, whose birthday is it again? After her little temper tantrum, Anita gets a call after she goes home, and it's from one of the werelepers named Gregory, saying that Nathaniel is in trouble. Yay! She tells us that she finally allowed Nathaniel to go to S&N clubs, provided that he had an escort, since he is incapable of saying no to anyone. His escort, Elizabeth, apparently ditched him, so now he's by himself. Gregory gets kicked off the phone and some dude named Marco insists that they're keeping Nathaniel even though he's under Anita's protection. Clearly a smart bunch of folks they are. They're apparently not acquainted with Anita's method of dealing with problems, which is to shoot first, shoot later, shoot again, shoot some more, and then when everybody's dead, try to ask a question. Basically, it goes a little something like this. What do you want, Marco? My Alpha wants you to come down and rescue your cats, if you can. What club are you at? Narcissus in Chains. And he hung up. Anita tells Ronnie what's going on, and Ronnie proves she's not useless by telling her to star 69 to call, so she'll know if they're really at the club or if... It's a trap! Anita finds out it's a payphone to the club and figures out she needs help going in. Ronnie offers, but Anita understandably tells her no since Ronnie doesn't shoot easily. Ronnie throws a fit when she figures out Anita has to call in Jean-Claude, and Anita leaves for the club. Yeah! This book hits the ground running and never stops! Even when it's coming to a giant brick wall. Anita tries calling Jean-Claude's many numbers until she finally gets a hold of him. Jean-Claude's voice hit me over the phone like a velvet slap. My breath caught in my throat, and I could do nothing but feel the flow of his voice, the presence of him, like something alive flowing over my skin. Gee, Anita, hump the phone, why don't you? I know you are there, ma petite. Did you call merely to hear the sound of my voice? By the way, I have to admit that while Jean-Claude is not my favorite character, I love him. I think he is hilarious in places he needs to be, because otherwise this book would be even more intolerable. Anyway, she asks him if he knows the club, and he agrees, and asks her why she needs to know about it. She mentions that the wereleopards are in trouble, so he tells her to take some people she trusts with her, and that the club owner, Narcissus, wouldn't be happy if anyone was being mistreated at the club. He promises to call Narcissus to make sure the cats are safe, and make sure Anita swears that they'll talk about their relationship, he calls it. After a minute or two, he calls back and says the wereleopards are fine. As promised, Anita explains that the woman she trained with named Marianne back in Blue Moon said she had been blocking the holes in her aura, and that Jean-Claude and Richard needed to fill them. Jean-Claude warns her how dangerous it would be to bind them together. She agrees to do it anyway, and they get ready to meet at the club after discussing her need to wear leather boots to look harmless. I don't even. It makes sense in context. As Anita gets to the club, we are treated to more evidence of how awesome she is. A gun doesn't cure all ills, but it's a start. I also had a knife sheath around each calf, very high up so that the hilts came up to the side of my knees. I also had a black belt in judo and was making progress in kenpo, a type of karate, one with fewer power moves and more moves using balance. Which is good because she's basically the same height as a Keyblade elf anyway. When she gets to the entrance, she sees Jason wearing this crazy silver spacesuit because he's apparently a stripper on Mars or something, and we get the first bit of decent humor in this book. You look like a pornographic spaceman. Okay, even I can admit that was funny. Jason and Anita go into the club and find Jean-Claude. Anita then has the equivalent of a chick boner when she sees him. Staring full into his face, even from across the room, made my breath catch. He was beautiful, the heart-rending beauty that was masculine that treaded the line between what was male and what was female. And not exactly androgynous, but close to it. Alright, let me go ahead and get this joke out of the way. First time I saw the blue-green royal of the Caribbean, I cried because it was so beautiful. Jean-Claude made me feel like that, like I should weep at his beauty. It was like being offered the original Da Vinci, not to hang up on your wall and admire, but to roll around on top of. Seriously, Anita? You want to weep at his beauty? I mean, there are some beautiful men in the world, but I don't think once in my lifetime I've looked at Chris Pine and wanted to cry. Well, maybe once when he was rumored to be dating Olivia Munn, but that's beside the point. Before she can burst into tears and recite sonnets in his honor, 3 dudes show up, and one of them is Narcissus in drag. Hell, that should have been the title of the book. Would have been way more interesting. The other 2 are aptly named Ulysses and Ajax, which makes me weep as a geek for Greek mythology since they've been named after S&M jockeys. Narcissus asks for the gun, and she reluctantly gives it up, but not without pissing off Mr. Drag Queen. If my people get hurt because I don't have a gun, I can make it your problem. Ma petite, Jean-Claude said, his voice warning me. I shook my head. I know, they're like Switzerland, neutral. Personally, I think neutral is just another way of saving your own ass at the expense of someone else's.